All right. Hello and welcome, everybody, to episode 5 of Between Two Mats. I
Oh,
am Matt Childress. You know, my co host, the one and only Mr. Matt Turner. And tonight we have a special guest that I believe Turner has an intro prepared for, which is.
this is the champion of the Midwest Championship Series, the man himself, Slam, Mark Wisniewski.
Thank you for that intro. I really appreciate it. I was when you asked me about coming on the show, I was like, "There's nothing a lot more than to be between two mats." So I was incredibly
that's
hyped to join the show.
that's pretty much what we're going for.
Oh, that, that's every boy's dream right there.
That's right. I feel like I need to work out the way I have it lined up on the stream so that the guest is actually in between us because I feel like that would be kind of
Oh,
funny.
Oh, I thought that was like that. Oh, I'm disappointed.
I can
I
now
was
tell
thinking.
that you've never watched one of our episodes on the YouTube channel.
No, I do the episodes. Why do I need to
Why
watch
do I need to
them?
watch them? I already know everything that I
I
said.
lived it.
Oh,
I
it's too
live the
good.
episodes.
It's too good. Oh man. All right. So what all we got going on tonight, Turner?
All right, tonight, folks, our main topic, of course, is going to be our guest slam. We're going to be talking about basically the MCS, and we'll do a little interview with him. And then for the ready phase, we'll talk a little bit about updates from Jasco. There's rumors going around that there's going to be a state of the game. We'll talk about some of the new Street Fighter cards, the Grim and Wonderland promos, which I'm really surprised not many people have talked about yet. And I think that those cards might be a little bit meta impacting. I think they'll at least be niche at a minimum. And yeah, and then we'll wrap it up with some chat questions.
All right. Sounds good. So the Jasco stuff. Um, where do we want to start? We want to start with some Street Fighter characters.
Yeah, yeah,
All
I'll
right.
I'll start with that.
So
So we'll
so
start and talk about just a little bit, especially having Slam here. I would love to get like a nice little opinions from him. We'll start by talking about all the characters, and then if
mhm.
we want to mention anything of their support, we can do that
All right.
too.
So
Um,
the last or the first character that came out since our last episode. That's the best way of saying it. Um, is Ken. So
oh wow, it's been a long time,
Wow.
Ken.
right, yeah, because I looked on the Facebook page and like I've linked all the characters as they've come out, and then I looked at our last
Sure.
post for after when I linked our last episode. um,
Yeah.
so yeah, Ken is 627. Enhance your turn, discard a card. Your attack gets stunned 2. Enhance commit a foundation. If your attack is not blocked, draw a card. He's got air, fire, and good. Have at it.
Um, well, Slam, you're the guest, so we'll let you give
He
your
seems
first opinion.
perfectly adequate. Like I don't
Hmm.
think he's OP. I don't think he's crazy, but I think he seems like really solid player, like playable. I think a lot of I think you can do a lot of damage with a little like without with little investment really. There's a lot of nice cards that can kind of work with him. Reminiscent of like a Talbane or something for me, where it's a really solid like he would be like a perfect kind of starter character or
Hmm.
something where it's not super complex. It gets right, it's bare bones, does its job, but it doesn't feel like it's something super OP either. But I think he's really playable. He seems really good.
Yeah, he definitely seems like a very like linear and straightforward character. Like there's probably gonna be some cool
Definitely.
tricks with him, but like you could just like you're saying, I think start deck comparison is really good one. Like you could see this character coming in starter deck, you crack it up, and you're like, I understand what he does. I understand what he wants to do. Let's go.
Yeah, I think he's going to have really, really good aggro turns, and I think if you play all or good, then
Mm,
Jeremy's card is going to be really, really powerful with him
mm,
because like that enhance being like free if you have
mm,
Jeremy's card out, where it's just like, okay, this is free. If you don't block it, you can draw a card. And I actually think like I think comparing him to Talbane is a little bit like of a scuff, but because the thing about Ken is he can stun your opponent down where like your opponent shouldn't like sort of can't block your attacks, and then he just keep drawing. And if he has like Jeremy's card, then he's going to get multiple draws off of that one foundation. So I think he's really good. I think that we're seeing a lot. I kind of like discard effects for aggro characters because foundations in your hand do nothing. I think you see that with like improved design and stuff like
mm.
that. I think discard effects can be really good for decks that are trying to OTK or like sort of play pretty aggressive. So I
Yeah.
think he's a pretty solid character.
Yeah, I
I
think.
do too. And oh, I'm sorry. I was
Oh,
just
it's
gonna
okay.
say I think it fits with like and I think that kind of a discard effect in an aggro environment. It also it kind of reinforces the idea of kind of being all in on a kill turn. You're like, all right, well, here's the chips. I'm pushing them in because if you're pitching a bunch of cards and you get blocked a couple of times, you're just screwed. You're out of cards. You've gone all in, and they beat you on the flop or something, like in poker terms. Like it's
Yeah.
you've gone all in, pushed all the chips in, and you're just wide open. So I appreciate that philosophy too. In a way, he's like his draw ability is a sort of bad Reese, where like Reese could wait until something actually dealt before he had to commit any foundations to it. You
Hmm.
have to kind of predict that your stuff is going to deal, which is in a way it's a weird, it's like a sort of like Gabrick or something too, where it's like you could put a lot of effort into this one attack and bank on something good happening from it. So he seems really good though. I don't think he's better. I think he is delightfully like a great 7.5. He's a bar hot. Like I'm cool with it.
All
That's
right.
fair.
So next up was Vega. Vega is 719, Air, Death, and Evil. He has the static. While you're at Desperation, your attacks get -1 difficulty and +1 speed, and your opponent's attack get +1 difficulty and -1 speed. Then he has Response Commit. After your opponent makes a check, it gets -1. Failing this check will not end the combat phase. If it is successful, ready this character.
And I'll just say one thing to save us on a little bit of time.
Mm.
We're looking at all these cards on ecommit.com, or you can just pull up the Universal Fighting System um, photos page. So then we don't have to read all of them, Matt. I feel like everyone looks for the spoilers and sort of has an idea of what they do. So that'll save us probably 5 minutes. Going into Vega, we'll let Slam go first again.
He seems really interesting. He's that check hack is really strong. The desperation ability is really strong. My only concern is I think he's at his strongest when he's hovering around like that desperation area of 8-9 life, which is always dicey. But I think he's really solid, and I think I'm really anxious to see like what the rest of his support does to kind of back him up. I don't remember everything off the top of my head without because on the iPad view it's hard to see everything, but like I know he has a flash throw and things like that that are
Hmm.
all seem really interesting for him. So I'm curious to see how the rest of the support kind of backs him up. But the Vega character with a check hack clearly a tribute to two-time world champion Andrew Alexa.
Chillers,
Right.
this seems like a character you would like. I'll let you go.
I got mixed feelings about him. Like I don't. It's not that I think he's not going to be good. Like I think he will be good. Um, but I think I mean, seven hand size right now is still like real dicey. Because aggro isn't going anywhere. Like there's better attacks. I mean, instant hell murder or whatever. What's it called? Raging Demon. I mean, like it's a flash attack that does 12 damage. Like that almost kills Vega by itself. That's unblockable. Like I think when you have things like that floating around, it's going to make someone like Vega more difficult to play. Now, granted, he can also play it and do that to people, and it gets an extra speed and less difficulty. So there's that. So I don't know. I mean, like I don't dislike this character at all. Like, I think that him with final betrayal is going to be hilarious. Just adding +2 difficulty to all their cards when you block with it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, time will tell. I think he's going to be defined by his support more than anything else.
I think that he's the second best character that they've spoiled so far. I do sort of agree with you, Matt, where like seven hand size can be a little bit dicey, with how much damage attacks do. But I mean, this is a character that like makes it really like he makes himself very hard to kill during that aggro turn. And most decks are like playing like a chain attacks and combos and stuff like that to sort of try to get the job done to kill you. And like you can go into desperation and essentially give all your opponent's car attacks +2 difficulty. So then it's really hard to kill. And then he of course has 3 symbols with Nivose. So then you can set up yourself for like something similar to like the Felicia attack base, where like you can set up to backswing off a huge Nivose and just kill your opponent. And I think that that's going to be a very, very viable strategy. And I think that he can also hack on every one of your opponent's blocks. And yeah, I mean, I think that he's really strong. I think that he is really, really strong. I think he's a pretty exciting character.
I mean, the thing is like he can't hack all their blocks though, because if
Well,
they
they have
just
to fail one.
right, if they just fail the first block that's not killing them, then he's committed the rest of the turn. And
Sure.
like I don't know, like I just feel like him not having a way to burn his own vitality is going to make him staying in desperation much more challenging. Like he's going to need something like an Eori's guitar or other things like that.
Sure, but
Um,
we're definitely looking into evil. Like evil is definitely like all in on the burn vitality to do stuff
sure,
at
from,
this point now.
it seems like
Um,
that is a cost that they've been running with for the symbol. So I don't know, like that's my thing. Like the fact that he has to be at 9 before that ability gets online, that is static, and like how many attacks do you throw on average in a game that do 9 or more damage? Because I feel like it's a lot of attacks. So like you could easily leave him at sitting at like 10 and him never even see desperation. So that's what I'm getting at. But what's the next character? E Honda. 534. Uh-oh. Did Turner lag out? Did I lag out?
I don't know.
no,
I think he
I,
did. I
Okay.
feel I he froze for a second, and I was like,
Okay.
look like he was sleeping, but
Yeah, I did look like he was sleeping.
it did.
E Honda. Um, so I got it up on the screen. Let's see. They should be able to see it if you don't want me to have to read them to them. Turner, you there? Uh,
We might have lost him, but I'm gonna grab my phone so that I can pull up Honda here too, because I do
okay.
not.
I'll read him real quick. It's fine.
All right, cool.
So it's R once per turn. After your opponent plays a card as a block, seal it or seal one non-character card in their staging area. Draw a card. Then it's enhance. If your opponent blocks your printed 5 difficulty attack, they remove the top 4 cards of their deck from the game. Um, I think as a mill character, he's probably not awful. I just don't know if it's going to be a viable strategy still.
I don't either. And this, I hate to keep going back to this because I feel like it's a cop out, but I do think it's relevant, especially in this era of
Mm-hmm.
Jasco design where like the support is so heavily involved in what the character brings to the table
Mm-hmm.
that I really don't know if we can call this character good or bad, like just
Right.
in a vacuum. If there's a couple of nice mill cards that support the mill he already has,
Mm-hmm.
I think he could be really, really crazy good. And
Right.
because his ability is a very consistent remove four and things like that, like that's really solid. And there's elements there of getting some more cards. And I believe it was like his 100 hand slap or something
It
that can
returns to
bring
your
himself
hand.
like, returns to your hand. So there's ways of kind of getting around some of the limitations of being a five-hander, which is
Sure.
really solid. Um, but he needs a card or two,
I
and
think Yeah, I was gonna say I think the biggest problem with his ability, or not problem, but like the biggest hurdle is the fact that it says printed 5 difficulty attack. So
correct.
like he's not gonna have these attack turns unless he's doing something like Thousand Hand Slap where he's playing without progressive, where he's bouncing it back and forth. Like he's
Yep.
gonna get to his third attack and it's gonna be a 7 minimum, and like I mean he's a five-hander, so he's not building that much, so he's definitely gonna have to commit resources for it. So I don't know. Like I feel like that's where, at that point you're like, okay, you're milling 8 a turn. That's not nothing potentially. If they're blocking or they just don't block and they eat it. Like I don't know. I personally don't like milling games. However, I do like there being alternate win conditions. So I hope that he is good enough that there's an alternate win condition.
I do too. I hope he's a viable mill character. I The only viable mills I've seen happen are from Garrett playing Elizabeth.
Yeah.
And I'm just talking in standard since I've been playing. I'm sure there was stuff back in the day. In fact, I know there was, but like right now, Elizabeth can probably do it. Um, but like I hope this is legit. I hope it's a competitive, moderately fun, viable alternate win condition. Because some of the problem, mill is just boring if you do it like the old fashioned way. Like I've won some games, Dimitri and stuff, where you just make it lame and just start grinding them out, and you realize, wow, maybe you can't kill him. Well, let's just wait it out. Honda kind of forces it on him. I
Hmm.
hope it works. I
Yeah.
hope he's good. I'm anxious to see more support for him. I appreciate five-handers, so
Oh,
I
for
hope he's
sure.
good.
And like you're saying, like it's one of those things that I'll wait and see. But I definitely hope uh, that Mill can become a thing. And I know Drew is really excited for that character. That's like his favorite
Absolutely.
Street Fighter character. So I'm sure if anyone's going to figure it out, he'll put the time in and figure out the best
And
way to mill someone.
he's a world class kind of grindhouse player. So
Right.
I'm sure he'll find something crazy good for him. So
No rock left unturned. Um,
I trust in Drew Maffei on that one.
so next character was Cammy. She's 718, Chaos Life Order. She has a free enhance. It says change the zone of your attack to any other zone, playable while committed. She has response commit. After your attack resolves, reveal the top card of your deck and keep that card revealed. You may attempt to play that card as if or as your next form, ignoring progressive difficulty. Um, so thoughts?
I think she's super good. But I have a friend here who I need to tag in as a special guest to help me commentate because he's super hyped on Cammy.
Really?
I would like the only Michigan player in top 8 from St. Louis over the weekend, Marcus
Yeah.
Singleton.
What's up, Marcus?
Welcome aboard.
Hey,
How's it going, man? So you're on the Cammy hype train also?
oh god, yeah, she's the first character in the game that I'll be able to play in UFS. It's incredible. She's so good, so
It,
good.
she, I think she's really good as well. I'm not gonna lie. Like of the characters I've seen so far, her and one we'll get to in just a minute. I think are the two, unlike Vega, that I think are they got the most potential just out of the box. Like the
Mhm.
ability to change zones. Like if you have any number of triggers to see their hands and see their block zones, she basically makes all of our attacks unblockable or guaranteed half, which is insane.
She's got
Um,
access to an ability that lets you see their hand on all three symbols too. So
Yeah. And then you combo that with the fact that she can do the potential mechanics for anything that after it resolves, say, adds back to the top, like was it ring boomerang or assault ring boomerang or whatever? Like there's a
yep.
handful of cards already that just have that effect. Like I mean, she becomes an eight-hander. That seems really good. So I don't know. I hope so.
Uh, I the one thing that I saw with her, especially, is with season guide,
Mm-hmm.
being able to actually plan that whole thing out
Sure.
on order.
Order.
So you reveal the top. Oh, look, there's a bad check on top of my deck. Guess
Yeah.
I'm gonna do my cami thing now. So it's gonna be it's gonna be rough. As far as I don't know how she's gonna do on defense, but she's got good symbols for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we'll see.
Yeah. Hopefully she can. Her support seems to be all about zone changing so far as well because showed that one foundation. So
Hmm.
hopefully her support will be her defense. But her
Right, right.
attack was insane also. It had like 20 keywords
Yes.
on it.
All the keywords, and you can, as long as you've got ways to change the zone, you get to keep responding.
Right. Yeah.
Gonna be gross.
We're on Cammy Turner.
All right, are we
Marcus,
back?
I would like to
I
thank
heard
Marcus
Marcus's
Singleton for
voice.
jumping
Is Marcus
in as
in
the
here?
guest star on the Cammy hype train.
That's right. Special
Awesome.
special guest.
I didn't want to say anything until the show started. I figured I'd drop him on us live and let it go.
I like it. We're all for it. Hey, look, we just tagged out. Clearly, there can be three people on at all times as a requirement.
Yeah,
So,
clearly. We should play Turner with Marcus, so it's all good.
hey, so far Marx's internet's holding up better.
That's good. Hey, you guys, can you guys still hear me?
You're back.
Yeah.
Man. Welcome back.
Yeah, you're good, man. You're good.
Okay.
All right.
I'm still trying to fuck with my actual internet. I'm on my cell phone.
Okay.
The internet on your
This
cell phone
is
seems
just-
much more stable.
This is just awful, man.
It's the
just
best
terrible.
ever, dude. Like it's always something with your internet. Like
Just roll with the show, man.
Yeah,
Just
man.
Roll with the show.
We did.
you want the Turner, you get the Turner.
That's true. That's true.
So we're
Talk. What you guys just continue with the show.
We,
Alright.
we were just
I'll-
wrapping up
I'll-
Cammy, actually.
Yeah,
We're getting
so-
ready for our next character.
so we're jumping on to
Oh,
Balrog.
I think Amy's hella good.
Yeah, that's.
Balrog.
I think everyone's on board with the she's hella good. Balrog, however, probably can't apply to that statement. But 628, Chaos Evil Water. He has 4 separate enhances. You counted it, 4 enhances. He's got so many enhances he doesn't know what to do with his hands.
4.
Yeah. So enhance your charge attack gets -1 speed and +1 damage. Enhance your combo attack gets -1 speed and +1 damage, or 1 speed and +1 damage. Enhance your punch attack gets -1 speed +1 damage. Enhance commit, lose 2 vitality. Your next check to play a punch attack gets +2. Okay. So thoughts.
I'm going to throw this out here.
Yeah.
I randomly think there's a chance that Balrog's actually really good.
You think he's super secret tech?
I think he might secretly be good. There's a million keywords. They're making a million charge fury.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a lot of stuff there. Oh, and I think he's also could secretly turn into an amazing Navos character.
Well, sure. Like, I mean,
Just put
yeah.
Kickboxer Balrog. I'd be down for that. But I do think there's a like the thing that I was shocked actually when I saw like they revealed a couple of his support cards was I was banking on their okay when you're like kind of how base has it where like when an attack receives a penalty it gets something.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of waiting for that and didn't see it, which sort of bummed me out a little bit.
Right.
But I do think there is I think there's a chance with that many enhances and that many weird like speed and damage manipulations for
Mm-hmm.
free that he's actually really good. Or at least there's potential for him. I wouldn't say he's really good like in a
Right.
vacuum.
Sure.
That's another character where maybe the support will bail him out. But just in a vacuum, I'd say he's not super good. But there might be a world where if there's enough stuff that has a bunch of keywords with it and
If
where
you
he
can,
could be a lot better.
yeah, if you can do stuff to reset your speed or things like that, because like that's inherently the problem with his abilities is the fact that he's taking away speed to add damage, which is fine if you're playing
Yep.
throws, but if you're not playing throws, then that just means they're blocking with ease, and that means your damage did nothing.
Exactly.
So if that's the case, then you're just playing enhances to play enhances to say you played enhances, um,
Yep.
And
and that's the
am I
problem.
on the stream?
You
Yeah, you
absolutely
are.
are.
I think that his R ability is one of the best is one of the worst abilities that's like ever been printed.
You know he only has
At
four
least in
enhances, right?
Fiasco UFS.
He doesn't have an R.
Huh?
They're all
You
enhances.
mean
Oh, okay.
his last E?
Oh, you don't even get to R after
No,
it
it's
deals damage.
enhance
It's E
commit.
No,
commit
it's
if it
enhanced
deals
commit.
damage.
Is it
Enhance. No,
enhanced
it's
Oh
commit?
wow.
enhance commit. Lose two vitality.
Commit.
Those are the costs. Your next
Oh, that
check to
sucks.
play a punch attack gets +2. So it's not off of damage or anything like that. Like he enhance commits, loses 2, but that means that he's not going to be modifying that attack in any way, shape, or form because he's committed now. None of those abilities are playable while
Yeah,
committed.
no, I think
Oh,
that
that kind of sucks.
ability's
Right.
horrible. I think getting a bonus check for getting an extra plus to your check, basically becoming no airbags for committing your character card, already think is bad, and it's only for punch attacks. I think it's one of the worst abilities that's ever been printed,
And you
at
lose
least in
life.
Casco UFS.
You pay
Yeah,
life to
and
do
you
it.
lose life.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So Balrog. On to the next one. Akuma. Akuma is 625, the worst
Okay.
stats in the history of the game. Evil, fire, void, and he's got enhanced commit. Your opponent discards one momentum. If it is your turn, they also discard one card. And then he's got enhanced destroy one foundation. Your opponent's next check to play a card gets -2. Failing this check does not end the combat phase. I will start this one off because I wanted to see Akuma really badly. I love this character anyway. And I'll say that I think he has a good option mid to late game, but I think he is real disappointing early game. And his stats are not helping him survive the early game. So they spoiled some of his support cards. They look awesome. He may end up being really good, but I don't know. Like just in a vacuum, like we've been saying, I'm not like this character's insane. Who wants to
I think he's
pitch
just
in?
fine. I think he's got some. I think he does a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he does anything particularly crazy.
I thought you were gonna say particularly
But
well.
yeah, like there's nothing that's like, oh my god, this is insane.
Mm-hmm.
Where you're freaking out about it. Like when we look at Cammy or something and go, wow, that is a crazy ability.
Yeah.
But I think he does enough things decent enough that he's a very playable, solid character. I think especially it was really important for them to spoil the ultra rare so that it made sense as to
Yeah.
why he's relevant.
Sure.
Because I do think you can build decks around that ultra. It's why we've talked. I mean, I hate to repeat myself, but why we've talked in almost every character about the importance of like
Their
not
support.
judging it without seeing all the support because
Right.
there could be some Balrog card that has all three symbols and you reset the speed on it and then it all makes sense.
Look, Balrog has a card that
And
just says response after your attack gets a speed reduction, it gets +1 speed or something, and it just breaks even, then he's
boom,
fine.
absolutely, and that's
Okay.
kind of why it was important. Like if I hadn't seen Wrath of the Raging Demon and I was just looking at Akuma, I'd probably be like, I don't think this guy's very good. But understanding what that character contributes towards that kill condition
Mm-hmm.
makes me feel a lot better about him. And that's why I think it's important to understand like everything we say about these characters is just going to be from what we've seen so far. Our opinions could
Right.
change down the road.
Right.
Um, so
I agree with Childress more than anything. I think that he's going to be played sort of as like a mid to late game oriented character, which is kind of like weird that he has 25 life. But I think that he's going to want to probably discard your opponent's hand and then play like a giant attack, maybe his ultra rare, just like resolve a Navos when you have no hand, or resolve a rain flush in a slaughterhouse when you have no hand, and then just use his E on your opponent's turn while they're trying to kill you. And hopefully you can build up a large enough staging area where when they're like when your opponent is sitting there and they're like, okay, Steel Resurrection, Scorch Wheel, you can sacrifice enough foundations to hopefully not die. So,
and like there is to just for support that's already in the game that interacts well with him. Um, there is all of the Schechter and Wily stuff off of Evil that triggers like when it's
right.
destroyed and things like that. So it's not that like this character doesn't have options. Like I definitely don't think that he is like a
Yeah.
bottom tier character, but I just don't think like when you look at him alone, like if that was an R instead of an E, and if it was Vega basically, if it was an R destroy a foundation after your opponent makes a check, it gets -2, or even if it was before they make a check, I feel like both of those would be better than the enhance, because the enhance gives them opportunities to play through it or play around it, and you're still losing a foundation either way, and that's setting you back even if it's a committed foundation. So
Yeah, and if you wanted to build the Piglet Special Akuma, I would just build him with choke throws, so then you get guaranteed momentum, and then those always deal damage, and then you set up your Raging Demon for unblockable, so you always deal damage.
So now we on to the Mac Daddy, the biggest, the nastiest, final boss in the Street Fighter known verse, Mr. M Bison himself. He
All
is
right, I'm
a
going first.
he's a 627 chaos, death, and evil. All right. Response commit, lose 2 vitality. After your opponent plays an ability on a non-character card in their staging area, cancel its effects and destroy it. Enhance for free. If your opponent completely blocks your attack, they lose 1 vitality, and your next charge, fury, or kick attack gets +2 damage. Turner, you wanted to start it off.
Okay, I think that this is the best character they've spoiled so far. And I made a comment when I first saw him, and I was like, I want to give a shout out to Jasco Games because they might have banned Napalm Man, but they printed in Bison. I this character is a lot like Napalm Man, like a lot, and like he has to lose vitality and
Mhm.
stuff like to destroy the cards, but like it he also negates. So he's taking one of your opponent's resource away. It's not as a form. It's not as a form, but it is as an R. And then he gets to negate. So like how Dimitri shuts down like foundation like centered strategy,
Mhm.
M Bison can do the same. Like you're going to need to get doubles of things. Like if you're a gung ho prototype deck, like prototype Navos deck, you'll never get to prototype against M Bison unless you can bait your opponent into something else.
Right.
And then
Or you commit him somehow.
his E his E just says every time you play an attack, you're guaranteed to deal damage,
Mhm.
which is extremely, extremely good. And we're seeing a lot of more like life loss effects and stuff like that. And they showed his attack where like you can sort of legit like almost play a burn deck now with that card.
Mhm.
And not to mention, if you completely block, then the next card is going to get +2 damage. So you block, and the next card is more threatening.
Yeah, you better
So it's
keep
almost
blocking.
like you don't want to block him. Yeah, it's either you don't want to block him or you better keep blocking. So I think this is going to be a horribly hard character to play against. And I'm looking at playing him because, like, man, like what he'll do to five-handers, because five-handers are like, usually foundation centered decks, and they already don't have that many foundations, and it's just like, oh man, it's gonna be tough.
Mhm.
This character, I think, is gonna like. I personally think that he's gonna be format warping, but I'll let you
So,
guys go.
all right, Slam, you go ahead.
I, me and Childress talked about this a little before we went live, but All right, and this is I'm gonna preface this by saying I'm a prolific Dimitri player. Saying this, Bison's crazy good. I think he's stronger than Dimitri. I think he is he's going to make about 85% of the meta irrelevant. Like you can't play five handers. You can't play anything that relies on like Dr. Wily's gone because you can't play Skull Fortress because he destroys
Yep.
assets too. He's the other thing that's different about him versus Dimitri, and this is relevant as we approach talk of Dimitri bans and stuff. Like if I flip a foundation, you don't lose you still have a face down to build and attack and go off of. Bison puts you behind
Yep.
on the count while he's building. So you're getting outbuilt while he's canceling and destroying your foundations and assets and stuff. So Bison is much more powerful than Dimitri. I think he's the strongest character by a mile out of what we've seen.
Yeah.
I'm like in the same way we talk about the other characters. I'm afraid of what other stuff they're giving him to work with.
Right. In a vacuum, this guy's insane. What is his support going to do?
Just a quick comment with Slam talking about the Dimitri thing. I think that Jasco missed a chance here to, I know you guys talked about E Honda and stuff while I was gone, and we talked about T-Hawk. This was the character you wanted to make a five-hander, and he would have been really strong. This is a character that can be a 530 and, be very, very good. You have more life to lose to use his responsibility, and you're a five-hand size, but you can keep your opponent off, building. Or your opponent just doesn't use their stuff, which, sure, that's fine. You're probably not going to kill me if you don't use your stuff.
Right.
So I just want to make a quick point about
and you're
that.
totally right, and it's the importance of that is that if you're a five-hander and you knock them down a foundation, now we're just breaking even. If you're a six-hander, you're putting them behind you if they're a six-hander. It counts. And that the other thing though is that if you rely on anything, if you rely on any foundation, any asset, your deck is toast. If you're a five-hander and you're for instance, I played Jeremy at the Michigan MCS. I was really relying on partners in crime fighting to do a lot of stuff. If I go to do that, I lose it. And generally, as a five-hander, most of my builds were three. So I would occasionally get some fours, but most of my builds were three. Now I'm down to two foundations. And he's probably built four. So now I'm two foundations behind. If I go to do anything and he builds four again, I'm even more it's. He's absolutely going to raffle stomp 85% of the meta, barring something else that unless Geef comes out and Geef is just this house. Bison is
I definitely feel like. Oh, go ahead. Finish your thought.
I was just gonna say if you took him tomorrow with whatever's out here and no other spoilers, he would be a top-notch character tomorrow.
Yeah,
I feel like the rest of the sport.
I feel like Bison, unlike say like Ken, where I feel like Ken's a really direct character and pretty easy to pick up on how to play. I feel like Bison is more of a finesse character in that way. Like a lot of you put this deck in the hands of someone who fully understands, and they're kind of talking about it in chat right now, like how you want to always use Bison on your opponent's turn or things like that. His R. If when you start to realize those sort of things and you realize the plays that can be made with these kind of abilities and the fact that Piglet's pointed out, it's always dealing damage and just making progress towards the end of the game. I feel like those things combined are what puts this character over the top, and that's the lens that most of us are viewing these from. Is that this guy, like you said, he's gonna be relevant on the tournament scene for sure. Some of these other characters could be really good even with support, but this guy, even without support, you could throw him in what we already have, and he'd make a splash for sure.
Absolutely.
Let's see. I think the only other character we have left now
is
Sagat. He is 627, Air, Death, and Order. Enhance your turn. Add the top card of your deck to your card pool face down.
Your attack.
Sorry, your attack. Thank you. And that's all the cost. Commit one of your opponent's foundations. Enhance, commit. Discard up to 2 cards from your card pool. He seems like an Order tap down character.
Yeah, I think I can understand how, I've watched Street Fighter and I know a little bit about it. I don't really play it competitively or anything. I know a lot of people are kind of upset that they gave these abilities to Sagat. A lot of people are saying that he doesn't feel like Sagat. I tend to agree. I don't think he's very similar to other Sagats that they've made in the past in UFS. I I think that he's got a good shot at being a solid character, though. It looks, at first glance, after seeing his attack today, that he's going to be like a reversal character where you can commit cards on your opponent's turn, and then you basically reversal, uh, play his attack, stun one on his attack,
Hmm.
put a card in your card pool, selective commit one of your opponent's cards, and then when your opponent plays the next attack, you clear 2 cards out of your card pool and can play another block. So I definitely think that he's really good. He's going to be really, really good with like Sprezio and Skull Barrier, I think, like Kevin was talking about. He seems okay. What do you guys think?
I think he seems really solid too. I don't think he's. I think the taking 2 cards out of your card pool is really strong. Even if you don't use the other E, think about it this way: if you just play 2 attacks and then play your 3rd attack and empty your pool a little bit and then keep swinging, like that's solid in a nutshell.
Combo potential.
He's gonna have synergy with Gyroman support. Stuff like admission fees could be really cool. There's that one Neomax card, that Ash card, where you can pick up your face downs and stuff too. And I believe he shares 2 symbols with that.
He does.
So, and I was super hyped that he's air in order, so I can build Takuma again. So Takuma can pump Tiger Uppercut. So let's go.
Yeah, I think Sagat, it could be cool. Like, I mean, I'm glad they're adding back a tap down character. That's something that Order has desperately been missing, I feel, for a while. It's kind of been, I don't know, trying to figure out an identity anyway, and because that's what it used to always do, and then they got away from it. So the idea of being able, like you're saying, like play reversal, tap something on their turn, clear your card pool, keep on blocking. That's cool. Like, I mean, I hope he's good. I like Sagat as a character, and I don't hate the symbol spread. So time will tell. I like his stats. 627. I'm on board.
Yeah. Matt, just based on time, I'd say, cause I didn't know we haven't gone over that many characters. Let's just go into talking to Slam.
Yeah, man.
And into the main topic. And then if we get time for other stuff, we'll go into that.
Sure.
So, ladies and gentlemen, our main topic tonight is the Midwestern Championship Series champion, Slam, Mark Wisniewski.
Yeah.
So, Slam, not only are you champion of the MCS, which is awesome that you were doing that, but the main reason that we wanted to have you on is because you were one of the main organizers in the MCS. So a lot of these questions are going to be about the format and about organizing the event.
Absolutely.
And obviously, you mastered the event if you won it. So my first question for you is, do you think your MCS was good for the game as a whole, like for UFS as a whole? And if so, why?
And real quick before you answer that,
sure.
What is the MCS? Because like I don't even know what it is.
Oh, sure. MCS, the Midwestern Championship Series. It was a brainchild of Phil had the concept and then presented it to a few of us with local play groups in this area, Michigan. We had a group in Indianapolis. Corey Hicks in St. Louis, and Chris Smith in Rockford, Illinois. And we had kind of come up with this idea to sort of do a cousin to the Empire Circuit. The Empire Circuit a few years back was a series of tournaments around New York that culminated at the Rochester PTC. And they got the hookup from Jasco and got a plane ticket out of it, I believe. Unless I don't know if Sean covered that or if that was Jasco. I don't remember. But it was organized by the players, and it had started as a way to get more people playing, and we just wanted to practice more and get more games in.
Okay.
And what it expanded on it, the initial idea was just to do a series of tournaments. And what we decided to do was take it post KOF. No KOF cards were allowed in the format.
From all 3 sets?
All 3 sets.
Okay.
Yeah, so no KOF 13, no Ruler of Time, no Neomax. And what it did is it made it much more accessible to newer players. There were no new players needing to chase for cards like Nivos or Super Duper Robert Kick, and it changed. It made other cards get a lot more shine that might not have gotten shine previously.
Okay, cool.
It also opened up some other strategies and stuff. There was no caught red-handed and things like that too.
Okay, so I guess to piggyback to Felix, was it good for the game?
Yeah. So
I'm sorry.
Do you think it was good?
Yeah, I do. I can tell you from St. Louis over the weekend that there were probably 4 or 5 people out of that 30-person tournament that would not have even been there if it wasn't for them getting their
Wow.
earliest tournament reps in the MCS circuit. I know
That's
that
awesome.
Indianapolis brought some people and stuff, and I think it was really important that players it gave first time tournament experience to a lot of new players. And like even in like the top six, the final six, we had Sean from Indianapolis, we had Nathan Haffey from Rockford, Illinois, and these are like Nathan, I believe, has been playing like 6 months, and Sean's like a year. And these guys made the final six, and it brought them to St. Louis, and it got them traveling and the one thing I can say about traveling as a UFS player is that it gets the hooks in you. Like
Sure.
you get the once you've done it a time or two, you want to keep going. And we have such an awesome community that it just you come out and party with us. You ask for help, we give some deck tech. Like it got a lot of people really involved in the community and wanting to stick with us. And I think we've made some lifelong UFSers really out of it.
That's awesome.
Well, then, I mean, saying that, I mean, it's obviously good for the game. I mean, if you have people that are going to tournaments that never would and are really experiencing the community, it sounds like something good. So if you organize the MCS again, Slam, are there any improvements or changes that you would make to it?
Nothing drastic. The only thing we've talked about doing is kind of changing the way that you qualify for the finals.
Okay.
We wanted to make it less like Player of the Year was, where it was a participation contest, and unfortunately, I think that not totally, but I think on a level it became a participation contest. It was less pushed towards winning. Now, like what we intended, and this is kind of how it did work out. So it wasn't a total failure, but like we wanted the buys because the way that it worked out is we did top six drafted. The top two seeds got a buy, which was similar to the Empire circuit. To get a top two spot, you basically had to go to all the tournaments. But to qualify, you did not have to. You could, if you could win a tournament, you could basically be cool. So we're trying to think of ways to make it where if you win one, you can still find a way in, without having to necessarily go to everything. But it's very minuscule stuff. There was nothing in the format itself as far as like what cards were legal. The only thing we've talked about is we might not allow champ cards next year.
Interesting.
That's because I know that with some of the brand new players, they didn't necessarily have all the champ cards and things like that.
I'll have a couple more questions about that going down.
Sure.
But the next is going to be about the playoff. You were talking about the top six making it into the playoffs. Did you enjoy that the playoffs were a draft format, or would have you preferred MCS constructed?
I actually liked the draft. I think that what it does, and I do think that this is a thing that's missing from UFS, is I don't think there's enough of a draft emphasis. I do think there's a real skill to drafting. I think it takes a different element of knowing, okay, the guy next to me has these symbols, or and then once you have it, it's knowing, okay, I need these kind of cards for my deck. What do I look for in these packs? I've grabbed this much stuff so far. So there's a skill to the deck building part of it too, and I really do think it reflects your skill as a player to be good at drafting. And understanding what makes up a good deck. While I understand the argument for doing constructed in the final, I really did enjoy doing a draft. I think the final would have been lame if it was us playing the meta. I think it made it made it really interesting to do different things.
And that's an awesome segue that you were talking about, just playing the meta, because so you took the 3 KOF sets out of your format, basically. You made an unstandard format called, and everyone calls it MCS format. So do you think that like, did it help like if you look at the standard meta and then you look at the MCS meta, does taking KOF away help like that idea of the UFS metagame, or was it pretty much just the same characters and the same stuff pretty much dominating?
I don't think it hurt it. It wasn't a drastic improvement. It changed things. Felicia, I think, is less good when you remove some of the Neomax stuff. I think Dimitri and a few other characters, when they lose, the big one honestly was Caught Red-Handed. When Caught Red-Handed was gone, it really changed a lot of things. Train by the Streets was another one. So when Train by the Streets was gone, that really shifted a lot too. There were still like the final. I got run over at Michigan MCS by Steel Wheels, Meals on Wheels, the Yamato Man deck, which is just as good in MCS as it is in Standard.
But maybe even better.
Maybe even
without
better.
those anti-draw cards. Yeah.
Right. And now the hard part too. I mean, there are things like you don't have champion Muay Thai, cards like that too, which can help against that matchup. But I think as a whole, I think the format was better. Train by the Streets in particular, a lot of the KOF one stuff honestly was really drastic as far as like Train by the Streets beats a lot of things. Kopikin's really tough to deal with. Um, so it just forces you to have to go outside the box a little more and try some different things to make your decks functional.
Okay, that's fair. My next question is, and you sort of touched on this about not including champ cards and such next year. My question is, will MCS always be a small format? So, like next year, you're looking at KOF already rotating. So, like next year, do you include like the 10 sets and stuff in your MCS format, or are you always going to take away a little something?
Literally, I was having this discussion this afternoon in our inner circle chat. We were discussing kind of where this is going to head for next year. I can tell you right now, I'm about 95% sure the tins will both be gone for next year's MCS. The weird thing, and this is kind of
interesting.
This is the conundrum we have going forward too, though, is that these sets are bigger. Like Street Fighter is going to be like 190 cards. The tins I looked on Ultra just to be sure. The tins are 77 cards apiece. So if we take out the 2 tins, that's 154 cards. So that's 40 cards less.
It's only about.
It's 40 cards less than all. Like Street Fighter is 40 cards more than both tins combined. So if you take out champ cards, you take out the tins, and then you throw in Street Fighter. Street Fighter basically offsets both tins and the champ cards and probably like random promos or something. Like I don't even know. Like these sets are gigantic. Blood Omen's huge. Blood Omen's 170 something cards. I believe I was looking at this because the counts of these sets is really important as far as like card pool size. Darkstalkers is 140 cards. I believe the first Mega Man was like 140 something. Like the sets are getting bigger, so it doesn't see if 40 cards might not seem like a whole lot, but when it's like across 2 or 3 sets, especially like if by the time the next MCS starts we have Cowboy Bebop and or Mortal Kombat, and if these sets are all gigantic, we may have to reevaluate a lot more things. So I can tell you right now the tins are probably gone for next year.
So you definitely want it to be like a smaller card pool format. That's sort of like your that's sort of your idea.
Smaller, yeah. It doesn't need to be like a little baby turbo format, but like we want it to be, instead of 10 sets, maybe like 7 or 8. I think it's like
So
7 or 8's ideal.
it's kind of the opposite idea of like doing like a modern format or something like that, like where like say you have like standard and then extended or modern or whatever in other card games, where it's working your way backwards to older cards, and standard is always just the newest stuff. It's shortening standard while cards are still in standard to have a smaller set, so that way they're even newer than new.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Right.
Which is an interesting idea, and it may work for something like UFS where like, there aren't huge production runs and things like that. So getting older cards, like you're saying, like Navos or things like that are really essential to a lot of decks is really difficult. So that's a cool idea.
Yeah, it was big, and especially like I know for sure like Indy and Rockford are both very new groups. It was really like in Michigan. I mean, we've been playing forever. We've got the stuff, but it's more of so for us it was more of all right. Well, let's just kind of accommodate the other groups, and it makes it easier on everyone. If especially like if you have to go, and I know that other retailers and stuff don't like hearing this, but like I really do think this should be the standard. Should be 7 or 8 sets. I think 10 is way too many. Like I know they want to do 1-on-1 rotation. It's just gigantic. It's so many cards and so many old sets that are hard to get.
I think you definitely have an idea there with it being like 7 or 8 sets, Slam, because if you just look at set releases and like.
Nope, Turner's gone again.
I thought that was I was waiting for a heavy duty point, and
yeah. I feel like he's gonna tell you that if you look at set releases and how much space there is in between them, that when you end up having like 10 sets.
At 3 a year. Right, at 9 sets, each set gets 3 years. If the 3 sets per year thing continues to happen, but then that means that 10th set is over 3 years old. Like, so it becomes like, it becomes a dilemma where like someone, I see exactly what you're saying, where someone gets into the game, and like if someone gets into the game right now and wants to play standard, like should they even bother buying KOF1 and Ruler of Time cards? Like, I mean, yeah, there are some good cards in that set, but I mean, why am I going to invest that money to get 6 months out of the cards when these guys just got like over 3 years with the cards? So I definitely see what you're saying there. It makes a lot of sense, and I do think like the 10 set standard, like 10 sounds like a good number, but probably like 9, I guess, would make more sense, like in the actual like rotation production process, I guess.
We have a brand new player in Michigan, and I'll just use him as kind of the example. But like,
Mm-hmm.
if in his shoes, he's looking at things like, why would I spend $5 for an uncommon when he's looking at caught red-handed? Like,
Right.
it's one of those, like, when we have to have discussions like, should we reprint some Neomax cards because people can't get them or they're too expensive or whatever. Like, I just think I I think there's enough things, and they've made enough answers to things now that you don't have to have caught red-handed. You don't have to have.
Yeah, and I think that when you say that, Slam, I think that was honestly like, I think Jasco like was almost sort of admitting a mistake there. Like they're like, we want to reprint caught red-handed because we want more new players to have it. Well, what about every other card in Neomax? Like caught red-handed is just an uncommon. Like you still have all the, like, let's just take commons. Okay, let's say sure everyone has access to all the commons, but all the uncommons, rares, and ultra rares in that set, no one has
Here's the kicker,
access to. I mean,
There
Look,
is no
man.
secret. Navos isn't an ultra rare. It's a rare.
yeah, it's a rare.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
I
not
knew
an
that.
ultra. So like when people are spending $50 on a rare, like I just it's I know that they want, like, at times people try to compare UFS to something like a Magic or whatever, where it's like, well, spend the money. Like, this isn't Magic. Not. That's what makes it great. That's why I love it. But
Look, I've already
like,
pitched my solution to this problem. They should do prize support that are reprints of other cards just with alternate art or whatever. Sort of like they've done with a handful of things. And you do like
yeah,
commons for locals, uncommons for PTCs, other events you get rares, and then at cardboard events you get ultra rares, and just give them out for participation thing. Problem solved.
Recity Geyser.
Yeah,
Just put Reese
That's
on Trinity
interesting.
Geyser.
yeah. And
Always
then
something cool.
you could even do it if you wanted. You could have a poll, so that way, like every time you rotate the prize support, let the community vote on. All right, here are the cards we're looking at that we think are in the most demand. Tell us which ones you guys want, and you know,
Wow, that would be awesome. Like especially
Yeah.
like if you get to pick, like that would be so. Because I know there are veterans players like Keenan and I sort of have like our cards, and then Lion Stance has theirs, and we keep them separate until we go like to the cardboard events and like the majors and stuff, basically. And like between me and Keenan, and we'll lend cards to Marco and Chris Skarska and Thomas Ron, Ben Lambright. Like we only have 8 caught red-handeds between us. So like I know for this Worlds, it's looking like I'm gonna play 4 caught red-handeds. He's gonna play 4 caught red-handeds, and everyone else is like sort of out of luck. So,
yeah. I mean, so
um,
like in that situation, it's like, hey, here's a list of 3 or 5 commons that we were considering. Whichever one wins by the end of the lockout period, then that's the one we're gonna put in the prize support for weeklies. And there's just an alternate art reprint, can have different pictures on them, so you don't have to pay copyrights for them. And boom, there you go. Now everyone has caught red-handeds or whatever else like that.
I like that a lot.
right.
And it's what every
Um,
other card game does, is because the idea of chase promos, I hate it. Like the fact that like
yeah.
BRT was ever a thing just bothers me. And characters, whatever, you only need one of them. But anything that you need more than one of, if it's like a promo or something else like that, like nah, man.
Yeah, like the same thing they do with champ cards is sort of what you're saying, Matt.
Right,
So
like champ
like,
cards I get to
you
print.
know, they just give out the champ cards instead of them being like super chase, hard to get
Hmm.
promos. They started giving them out at the events. That makes a lot of sense. I think that is a good idea. Slam, I wanted to know what was some of your favorite moments from the MCS. So it was like a 4 tournament circuit. Do you have any favorite games? Do you have any like players that you met that you really enjoyed getting to meet? or
There's
just
a
sort of your personal
I'll
experience from
just
it.
throw a few. I'll try and keep this just to UFS because there are some great outside stories that can be talked
Oh,
about
we're
for a
here
very
for
long time.
outside stories too.
I'm
I mean,
sure. I'll give a
we're
couple of nods. I got underage Reese into his first bar. That was fun. Uh, that was cool. Drunken Master between Phil Birch and Sean was
oh
amazing.
man, that was
You
a joy to watch.
do a shot every time you take damage. That's the worst idea ever. Don't play that game.
Right.
We got Kurt Polka came out of retirement to play at the Michigan MCS and top aided. That was really cool.
Love Kirk.
I have a place in my heart for anyone who's ever been on cardboard because I've never been there myself. And Kirk is a former Michigan guy, moved out of state, but he's still Michigan at heart. So we embrace it. But I gotta say though, like winning this meant more to me than like I know that there was money on the line in St. Louis. This was such a labor of love. This whole thing, the MCS and the tournaments, and just everything we put into it to make this thing work. This title, this playmat, this event, this meant more to me than the 1K could ever mean. And I know that people who
Awesome.
don't understand the MCS will look at it and go, "No, he's fucking crazy." But like, no, this really did. Like, I wear this with pride. You know, there's a reason I
Yeah.
kept it on my shoulder for the better part of an hour. Is just so that like I really do embrace it. I walked around St. Louis with it on my shoulder on Sunday. Like,
Well,
That's
uh,
and
awesome.
it does mean more. Like I didn't even win, but I think Childress probably remembers in the South when we did the rant. We called it ran bats, as in ranking battles.
Hmm.
Like when you're in like a series and it's like a series of tournaments, and you come out like best. Like it's like a season. Like like you're playing a sport, and like it culminates to you winning it all. I mean, I'm sure it's got to feel awesome. It's much more competitive. It's a whole nother part of UFS that like a lot of people will never experience, and it's kind of sad. I hope more of it gets done.
and for me, it's one of those like I've talked about this too. UFS has been important to me as kind of a place filler when I've had like tough times in life, like
Sure.
work, professional, personal life stuff. I've always had UFS, and UFS has been really important. Like stuff like this matters. There's nothing I want more than a car, women, um, work stuff. I want to win. I want to win cardboard this year. That's like I'm tired of being and sorry, I think I'm the best player not on cardboard, and it's
Hmm.
I don't want to be. I'd rather be the 15th best player on cardboard than the best player not. You know, like I'd be totally content with being, whatever, a bottom tier cardboard holder than a non cardboard holder. Like it
Are
sucks,
you trying to
and
say you're coming from a spot? Look out, Mark. I like being at the bottom.
like I'm just saying, like I just wanna be like, I just want to be on
I might.
cardboard. This is like I didn't even intend to launch into this babyface promo, but I started doing it. But like, no, I really do. I work really hard. I mean, I'm literally staring at a deck that I'm building in case Dimitri gets banned this week for Worlds. Like, I'm always in the lab. I'm always testing. I've organized our weeklies so that Michigan has really strong weeklies again. Jeremy Ray called me the hardest working man in UFS, and it's because I care. I just really care. When we have these long-winded discussions, and this is what's important for Jasco, and I think they understand it. Like when we get on shows and we will criticize cards or criticize design or things we like or don't like, we're doing it because we love the game. If we didn't
For
care, we
sure.
wou't be here talking about it.
Right.
Um, like
I think they
it's
do understand that.
I think they do too.
Oh yeah.
And I think and honestly, I think we've been really polite about it. We're going like, this doesn't look great, but maybe there's this thing behind it that'll make it
Right.
better.
We're not just
Like
like,
we've talked
boo, it's
Yes.
terrible. Light it
Right.
on
We're not
fire,
going
tear it
around just
up.
saying, "Oh, it's
Yeah.
garbage," ban it, or we're not going either way on it. Like with Bison, we're like, yeah, he's really good, but we're not getting the ban hammer out with Balrog. Even I'm looking at Balrog going, maybe there's a speed reset
So you're saying there's a
that takes
chance.
advantage of this. And we're at 10 o'clock. I don't want to
Oh, you're good,
keep
man.
rambling on.
But I think you're totally correct. Like I definitely think they know
That's
that.
awesome. We started 5 minutes late, anyways.
Right. And if you're counting how much time Piglet's actually been on the air, we got like another 20 minutes then technically.
Oh yeah,
'Cause
we got way more than that. Well, whenever we can Gettysburg Address for you or something, let's go.
But
Oh man.
Yeah, man. Well,
Well,
congrats on
actually,
your win, by the way.
go ahead, Childress.
I was just gonna tell Mark, congrats on the win. And
I
it's
appreciate it. Thank you.
so hold that playmat up because I don't think I've actually seen the whole thing. I've only
Oh
seen
no,
the
no, for
segment on your
sure.
shoulder. It's pretty
And
nice. Did you guys get that
this is
made just for it, huh?
I'm challenging everyone in the Midwest or not in the Midwest. Come out and take it from me. But I've got this for a year.
Shit!
This is mine for a year.
Oh
Um,
man!
at the end of the year, we'll see if Eddie Wood is able to get it back from me. I'm hoping to keep it for 2, 3, 4 years. Like
So it's like the number one
take it
headband
from me. So it's
from
mine
Afro
though
Samurai.
until you come win it at next year's MCS finals. So I
Oh,
hope
man.
that people watching this follow up on that and come play next year. It's a great format. We really do. I really do think as a crew we all do a great job of running it, and we really do care about the community a lot. We take everyone's opinion to heart when it comes to stuff we could do or things going forward with MCS.
All right. Well, um, let's go ahead and I guess chat if you have any questions about things that we've
Yeah.
said or things that we've talked about tonight. Feel free to go ahead and punch them in, and we'll hang around for at least another 9-10 minutes and try to answer any questions. If they don't have any questions, then we'll just chit chat for a few more minutes, and I'm sure Turner has more questions.
Yeah, we will. As always, on between two mats, we're going to take chat questions.
I like that he slowed down.
But
Yeah, and he started
while
going
we're waiting
digital.
on questions to come in chat, Sam, we're going to give you. Oh shit! We're going to give you 5 minutes to tell your best not at the card tables UFS story.
Oh God. Well, all right. So this technically is the card tables, but it started
All
at
right,
the card
that's fine.
tables and ended up going everywhere around Corey Hicks' brand new house. So I'm gonna tell the story of two drunken masters who decided to play a game on Phil Birch's birthday, where if you if you took damage, you did a shot of Crown Royal. And it was Sean from Indy against Phil Birch, and Phil dominates game one, and Sean's getting loaded, and then Sean hits back, and Phil scoops, and they are currently arguing right now about whether or not they did the math. They're like Phil could survive 3 more attacks, so he needs to do 3 shots. So they're fighting over these 3 shots. He still owes Sean 3 shots apparently. Now what happened is that it led to before we ever got back to Corey's to start doing Drunken Master, we were at Hooters. And there was a girl named Nola there with a whopper ass. It was great. So we're there and we're getting loaded, and the girls all come sing happy birthday to Phil, and we're drinking beer and eating chicken wings and whatever. So we get to Corey's house, and they start playing Drunken Master. At some point, Phil and Sean, I think Sean threw a gummy bear at Phil. Phil threw a bottle cap at Sean. Then Sean started yelling shit at Phil, and Phil said he was going to Jon Snow him. And Sean,
He's gonna for the watch. For the watch.
Yeah, I don't know. Sean goes over to Phil and yells, "Winter's coming, motherfucker!" And to this day, we're still trying to figure out what. No, they both blacked out. We have no recollection of what the Winter's coming was all about. So we're still trying to figure that part out. And then we're all crashed out in Corey's basement. There's like 8 of us, and Sean and Phil are still arguing, laying in the dark, yelling across this quiet basement with no lights on. Sean's voice got all froggy and raspy, and he started talking like Ja Rule. And Phil's like going, "Oh, man, you fucking idiot," or whatever. And they're going back and forth, Sean and Phil. And everyone, this is like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, and we got to get to the store at like 10 for this tournament. And they're just going back and forth. And we basically just we had to keep telling them to shut up because no one would shut up out of those two. It was like a who could get drunker contest. But
Wow.
yeah, it was good stuff.
Well,
Yeah,
someone
no one get any
mentioned
sleep. Yeah, it was great times.
someone mentioned something about a new stop on, I guess, the MCS next year.
Yes, we have made it official. Omaha will be a part of the MCS next year.
Okay, cool.
Oh
we
wow!
will have a 4th stop next year. And Omaha brings a fairly good sized play group, so these tournaments should all be bigger. We're also talking about
Awesome.
expanding from the 6 people we had last year to a possibly larger playoff.
Hmm.
That's still in discussion though. That stuff we'll have to cross bridges as we get to them on that one. But
Yeah, I mean, a
um,
lot more people. You could do a standard 8-person draft.
yeah,
So
definitely.
Yeah.
one question I have about the MCS is, all right, so if the intent was to make it more new player accessible, how many new players did you end up actually getting to play in it, and do you think it was successful in that regard?
The weird one was Michigan because Michigan was not a lot of new players,
Hmm.
but the other two were a ton of new players.
Really? Okay.
There was Michigan was odd. I'll mention Michigan specifically because compared to the like Indy and Rockford in particular had tons of new players. I guess there's multiple groups in Indiana,
Mm.
and those groups all kind of combined together at the Indy one. So there were tons of players. I didn't really know a lot of people from these other play groups. And Rockford was people I met from the Rockford PTC, but no traveling players that I really knew. So
Okay, cool.
it was a weird one. Michigan was like people just came out just to play it. And
Mm.
I learned that there are groups playing MCS like in Vegas and stuff like that. That there's no like MCS tournament in Vegas, but
Right, no
people play
circuit
it.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, but that people play it just to play it, which was really great to hear that people are just embracing it and having fun with it.
Yeah.
But Michigan was like the guys from Baltimore came out, Rob and Scott, and a bunch of dudes from like Pennsylvania and stuff like that came out. We had Tim Friedlieb came out from Vegas. Um, it was interesting because there was a lot of like there were people who couldn't actually probably make the finals really,
Hmm.
but just wanted to play it and just had a good time and like it was Michigan was kind of odd for that. And the other thing that was um, it was a lot of fun though, and it was there were tons of new people. Like I introduced myself to a lot of people. We gave away a lot of free commons and uncommons to people who wanted them. Just
Yeah.
there's stuff going around everywhere, and
Sure.
Well, and the reason I ask is
yeah,
because I mean, like,
And
you're always looking for ways to grow the game locally, wherever you are. So if this was successful, then it may be worth, making the suggestion or seeing if Jasco ends up doing something to kind of make a not like a turbo format necessarily where it's only like 2 sets, sanctioned events, but something else like that. Or that's not what turbo ended up being, but you know what I'm talking about, like when they did
yeah. I know what you mean.
Nufus.
Yeah,
Nufus is
something more
what people
limited.
called it back in the day. Yeah, like a smaller standard, just that way if people want to get in, they could. I don't know,
Absolutely.
just something
I
to.
could I could definitely see that. No, I think that's a good idea. I don't think Turbo's the answer. I
Yeah,
don't know if
I
they
forget.
believe Turbo's the answer anymore.
no,
Yeah,
and
I
I'll
forgot
tell you
Turbo was
I
actually
something.
don't
something
want to
totally
see
different.
Turbo.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you something right now, Slam. Like, I've won a non-standard format before. Teams is my favorite format. I am all for non-standard formats, but Turbo isn't actual UFS. It's just
Right.
not.
Right.
In
Right.
MCS, you guys played actual UFS. Me
Right.
personally, I personally don't like the draft playoff, but it's not my tournament.
Sure.
I would prefer a single limb top 8 at the end in a playoff, but that's what you guys wanted to do, and that's what y'all chose, and I think that was good. And you were still playing, real UFS. You weren't playing no standard, no standard bands and 40 card decks, and I just think that thing is a whole West. And yeah, I'm a fan of the Wild West.
Yeah. So when I said
But
Turbo, I totally meant Nufus back when they did like the first rotation, just years ago. I guess when it was going from like Sabretooth to uh, what was it? It was when Tekken and all came out, and first Shadow War set and all. You remember all that? Fancy Flight years.
yeah,
Like that's what I was
yeah,
referring to when it was just the 2 set version of standard, and then it was like 3 sets. That's what I was referring to.
right. That's true. You have been hovering airman for the entire.
The reason it's there
I
is because
think
we were talking about the size of sets, and he happens to be the first person in the Mega Man set. And
Slam.
and then I never clicked back on it.
Let's hear about your world's airman deck. Since Dimitri's getting banned at the end
My
of the week.
my my
So
world
super secret
deck.
tech,
No, I don't do much secret tech.
the Airman
I'm
secret
putting
tech.
together, and this is not.
Yeah,
It's literally sitting in front of me. I'm building them on Earth. I'm trying some different things. I'm jacking a lot of. I'm going to give some shout out to Garrison Brunel. This is a lot of like it's his stuff, like splashing like spiders and dragons off symbol with like Champion of Southtown, things like that, and using Ladies Man in throws and blowing up the spiders and dragons when I bring them down, and then Champion of Southtown them back in, and it's all Jock in that style. So like I'd all credit to him on that. Part of it for me is like I want to have backup plans if Dimitri gets banned. This is kind of in the tempo and vein that I play. I'm also working with Mega Man lists. I had played Mega Man previously. I thought about playing him for the MCS, but I fell in love with the Jeremy Ray deck I played in Michigan, so I played that one instead. I have some.
Which Mega Man?
Stacker guy. Stacker guy off good with Astro Crushes. Reminiscent of what Jeremy played.
Okay.
I think without Dimitri, I think that character is really top notch because I think Dimitri gives it a really hard time. But I think
until Bison's in the format.
Yeah, and then Bison's gonna make it really terrible too. No, Bison will be less. Actually, in a weird way, less troublesome than Dimitri was, and some of that is, it's a big part of it is the being able to kind of control the ability to play multiples and stuff on me. Good and Evil was a big boost, though. Good and Evil is a really big boost.
Yeah, Good and Evil is amazing. Okay, Matt Childress, I have a special request by Mr. Phil Birch in the chat that he would like you to hover his new champion card. This is going to be exclusive to between two Matts.
Oh, guys.
This is the first time this has been shown. So we're going to go ahead and do that here. I'm going to send it to you on Facebook, the image. And if you would can you open the Facebook?
I got it. He just sent it to me.
We're spoiling Phil Birch's champion card tonight. I'm so excited. It is amazing.
All right, here we are. Phil Birch, 2.627. Death, Earth, Evil. R commit, discard 2 momentum. After your opponent plays an attack, cancel it and discard it from their card pool. Power of the Edge is pretty good, I hear. E, destroy 1 foundation. This attack gets plus X speed or plus X damage. X equals the number of foundations you have destroyed this turn. And yeah, that's happening. Also, most notably, he's holding his old character card.
Most notably, Cat Girl selfies.
I was about to say, there's multiple Cat Girls like on his art.
Oh, man.
I like how it says the Lion's Den.
Yeah, Phil Birch plays out of the Lion's Den, not wherever you're from.
Right.
So that's what really matters.
Is that a shout out to Lion's Dance?
It doesn't sound very good to say I play out of Mark's living room. That's not real sexy.
I want to play out of Mark's bedroom, if you know what I'm saying.
Got the queen size memory foam. Come on in there.
Oh baby.
No, but like.
Oh, your tattoos are on there. That's awesome.
The iPad's on Card Games Ottoman. It is. It's the Stu Hart's dungeon of UFS. It's a tough crowd here. So, but no, I'm so happy for Phil. Like when he won Worlds, I was just, especially in the way he won.
He didn't win Worlds though.
Or, I'm sorry.
When he won Nats.
Whatever. Cardboard's cardboard.
It's fine.
My era. But when I was a kid, cardboard was cardboard.
Back in my day.
No, but the way he won it too was very dramatic. He had a really great game with Keenan, and then had a really he bombed checks really early against Mark LeBlanc, and then Mark LeBlanc bombed checks back, and Phil won.
Phil ripped him in half.
I was really happy for him though. It was great.
Nice. Well, thanks, Birch. It looks good, man.
Yeah, thank you for that exclusive, Birch. I wanted to share your character card, but I didn't have time to ask you because I don't have working internet.
Right. He says from his phone right now.
Yeah, as I say from my phone internet right now.
Well,
but I want to thank Slam for doing the interview today, man. I really enjoyed it. You know, we're buddies and I always like having you on. And Childress, I appreciate you guys, picking up the slack for me while I was disconnected for 10 minutes.
No problem, man.
Problem.
You know we got you covered. And Slam, thank you so much for coming out.
Veteran, man. I'm a Total Justice Gaming veteran, total broadcasting professional. We got this.
That's right.
It's true.
I'm just saying, his internet's not giving him any problems. He hasn't even gotten digital yet, so he's pretty professional.
Oh, man. That was awesome.
Well, that's probably the best we can end it on. A Phil Birch exclusive character card preview and awesome conversation and good times. So
that's amazing stuff. Thanks for having me, guys. I had a great fucking time.
Thanks for coming out, man. Always a
Thank you.
pleasure. And guys, we'll be back. It's the
Well,
second Tuesday of each month. Check our Facebook page in case that date has to get bumped up a little bit because that's going to put it real close to, I think, the week of Worlds. So we may be moving it around a
yeah.
little bit. But we'll definitely check there. We'll let you know. And we'll try to do our best to make sure to get you a show. All right. Y'all be good. See you guys. Thanks for joining us.